sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello everyone, I've hit the microphone at the wrong time. Sorry, you're tuned into Apex Online Racing. Apologies for the silence there, I've just completely wasted my intro. But why don't we just jump straight to the point. You are here for round number 8 of the season. It is at Melbourne, Australia. This is Apex Online Racing, and here is the championship standings, since I've completely messed up my entire intro already. And you can see that Williams Jim Sven is at the top by 3 points from his teammate Danny MG, Casper in 3rd and Vasta Racer in 4th. Those are the only 4 drivers to have won so far this season. And a fun fact at the bottom, you can see that CRG Sparks is the only driver to have scored points in all 6 rounds this year. Danny MG has also scored points in each of the rounds he's competed in, but remember he did miss 2 rounds due to a busted wheel. And then as we move on to the Constructors' Championship, Williams with a very good margin, no surprise considering they've got 8 podiums out of a possible 12 so far. Racing Point in 2nd and Mercedes in 3rd position. Ferrari still rounding out the field at the bottom in 10th position with just 4 points. My name is Andy Campbell, I am one of your 2 commentators here this evening, and joining me in the commentary box as always here is my commentating partner in crime. It is Mr. Kieran McGinley. Kieran, I hope you're doing well here tonight, my friend. Looking forward to what should be an interesting night of action once we get going, as soon as I hit all the right buttons.
Good afternoon and good evening, everyone, and hopefully Andy's unmuted me, so hopefully you can hear my part of the intro. But yes, Albert Park, it's a very tricky street circuit to get absolutely spot on. 77% of the lap is taken at full throttle. It's quite an interesting circuit. Lots of medium speed corners and a couple of low speed corners in the 3rd sector just to boot, including that terrifying turns 11 and 12. And always on the outside of turn 12, you can find yourself in a little bit of a muddle if you put the rear tyres, or especially especially your rear left tyre, on that curve, it can send the car spinning all the way around. So you've got to be really, really careful about that one. And looking at the weather forecast, well, it looks like it's going to be full wets for the race. It is absolutely going to chuck it down for the first half, but it looks like it's going to ease up, but only to intermediates towards the end of the race. So there may be some sort of strategy involved, and there may be some sort of different compound of tyres. What's for sure, though, is we should see all the drivers on soft tyres for this qualifying session.
Yeah, absolutely indeed. The wet race is really going to make things extremely interesting as we go through qualifying. As you say, it's going to mean that the drivers will no doubt be keeping their going for full throttle basically. If it's going to be a wet start, there is no need to save the tyres. Prines, first one to put up a lap along with Joclat, and then his teammate Vasta Racer goes straight into the low 19s with a 19.3, and I believe we're looking at around about a low 19, maybe even a high 18 for pole position here tonight, Kieran.
Yeah, we're looking at time trial times as high 18s, but of course in time trial you get the full battery at hot lap mode for the entire lap. For this in qualifying session you don't, so I'm expecting low 19s, but maybe a 118.9 is on the cards, but I can't see it getting any quicker than that. But yeah, hopefully all the drivers are getting ready here to get as much through these tyres as possible. One thing to note as well is that although it's a dry qualifying, remember these drivers are heading into a wet race, so qualifying times might be slightly down than what we're used to, purely because the drivers want to go with a wet setup rather than a dry one.
Yeah, absolutely indeed, and obviously with the compromise you need there, because a full dry setup will be good later in the race when it dries out, if it dries out enough. But at the same time, you're going to be extremely struggling in the early stages when it is full wet. So we're going to go and take this week's Scott lap on board with Lewis, who's just coming around to complete his out lap just now. I'm going to take you around this 3.4 mile circuit, 16 turns in total, and here we go on board with the Red Bull driver through the final corner, taking a little bit of grass on the inside there for the start of the lap. Now down the front straight, the ERS will be turned up, DRS wide open. Look for your braking point, you're braking so late into turn 1, use as much of the inside curve as you can, a bit on the exit as well through turn 2, back on the DRS down towards turn 3. Now you're looking for your braking point round about there, just as you see that flag board up in the top left hand corner, down to second, then back up to third quickly, back to the left hand side for turn number 4, using the curve a little bit on the exit, flat out through the curve at turn number 5, and then up towards the end of sector 1, which is towards turn number 6, down to 4th gear, using a lot of the curve on the exit as he goes through 7 and the curve at turn 8, coming up to the chicane, which takes us into turn 9 again, looking for your braking point, down the gears to 3rd, quickly up to 4th to eliminate wheel spin. You want a good traction as we go along this curved straight with the Albert Park Lake to the right hand side, no time for water skiing. Watch the speed into here, down to 6th gear, 150 plus, using the curb carefully, that exit curb, you can end up spinning, and then down to the 3rd DRS zone, coming down towards turn 13, late on the brakes again, down to 4th gear, using a little bit of curb and the grass almost there, and a bit on the exit too. Turn number 14 is extremely quick, and then up to 15, probably one of the slowest corners, if not the slowest on the track. Use 3rd gear to get the traction, into 4th gear, up towards the line we go. Let's see what kind of lap that is for Lewis as he comes across the line to set his first lap time, and it is a 1 minute 20.0, so he's 6 tenths down at the moment. He's still got a good chance to improve that with 11 and a bit minutes still left to go, but pretty tidy lap there, even though there's a little bit used to the grass in places.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just saw on the entrance of turn 3, he came perilously close to the grass on the outside there, millimetrically perfect on entry into that corner there. But yeah, the thing is, with the 120s we're seeing, don't forget these could be drivers that are prioritizing that wet setup, as Casper just comes across the line, 119.878 for his first run here in qualifying. So there might be drivers that are going for that higher downforce option to give them more grip in the wet. So this might hamper qualifying times so far, but not for Vasta Racer, Danny, or Sven at the moment. 119.3 and 119.4s respectively for those 3 drivers. They're loving this qualifying session so far.
Yeah, so far all the way straight into the low 19s, which is probably what we're more likely to see as being a lap time here. But of course, with the fact that they do have to compromise the setup slightly, we've got to keep an eye on these Williams boys once again. I mean, they've been so dominant this season so far. As I said in the intro part that you did actually hear, 8 out of 12 possible podiums so far across the 6 races that we have been able to have. Don't forget, China will be held during the break week on the 17th of May, so you'll be able to have us on that evening as well. But they've just been so quick. They're the only drivers with 2 victories each as well. The only other winners are Casper and Vasta Racer, and it starts to make you think that if they can keep things going, they've got to be surely the most likely candidates to take the Drivers' Championship.
You'd think so, but as they always say, anything can happen in Formula One, and it usually does. They also say that Formula F1 is if spelled backwards, but you know, these things can happen, and they probably will happen. But I think Vasta Race is in a really good reign of form at this moment in time. He's slowly trying to get his way up the table. 4th place right now, a win in Japan, 3rd place at Italy, 2nd place at the US Grand Prix. And I say that, he's out of the qualifying session completely now. That really is curse of the commentator. He has completely lost that one. Front right tyre is off. He's out of the qualifying session.
So we didn't see that there because we were following Williams' Jim Sven as he came to start his lap. What happened there with the racing point?
Well, it just looked like he clipped the wall there. I didn't quite see it because I just sort of went onto him as he was in the crash. So it was quite an odd one there. But yeah, he's just lost it on his own and out of this qualifying session, unfortunately. He'll be no higher than 1st. Well, if that's even possible. But he won't be able to set a faster lap time than a 1:19.3. So this is a call to action for the other drivers. What are they going to do? How are they going to do this?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting now, but Vasta Racer possibly putting himself at the mercy of the rest of the field now, if they can really string together some laps. Also, we know the Williams pair are very close. Onyx is right up there as well to this evening so far, in 4th position in the Haas, so he's doing really good too. The 2 Alfa Romeos occupying row 3 at the moment, with Sparks only 2.5 times down, basically. Gamer 4 times down, and Jocolat in 7th. There's half a second covering to Casper in 8th, and Fabi just over half a second in 9th. So once again, it is very close together a field. I'm just going to jump back to Williams' Jim Sven, your championship leader, as he actually decides to head back for pit lane. His teammate Danny MG is just slightly quicker in sector 2, so we'll see what the former championship leader can do as Lee Finlay puts himself up into P3 there with a lovely lap time, only 8/100ths down on Vasta Racer. You will see a lot of yellow flag bits up in the corner as drivers slow down to keep a bit of a gap and trying to get out of the way of other drivers, so we'll try and keep an eye on that, but it is most likely going to be people slowing down. Danny coming through turn 13 up towards turn 14, you quickly chuck it down the gear to 5th to help the turn and then slam on the anchors quickly up to 3rd for the traction and then through the final corner. What can the Spaniard do as he comes through the final corner? He was slightly up on sector 1, can he improve on his lap time? Up to the line he goes, and no, 4/1000ths of a second slower for Danny MG, so nobody's still quite able to get close enough to Vasta Racer. He's still there at the top of the standings with just under 7 minutes to go.
Yeah, still looking pretty at the top there, but as the track gets better, the track will evolve. So in theory, there should be more rubber laid down and therefore more grip you can take through the corners. The adverse effect is that although there'll be more rubber on the track, down the straights, there's more friction being created. So in theory, you're slower down the straights, but faster through the corners. And for a track that's really based on mid-speed corners, you would think the track times and the lap times will only come down. I was just going to say about Lee Finlay, I mean, his best race results so far this season has been 5th place at round 2 at Belgium, and since then he's been in and around the points, but 3rd place for him at the moment, high up there. I wonder if some of these drivers are going to run a dry setup. Australia's not known for its overtaking prowess. I wonder if they're going to stick a dry setup on the car and just hope that the overtaking opportunities are far and few between.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because having a look in the chat, a lot of people do seem to think that it will be dry setups that are at least as close to a dry setup as possible that the drivers will be running here, saying about how tricky it is to overtake, that you do really need to be alongside the car to get the move done, despite the fact there is 3 DRS zones. I mean, turn 1, you're going in there 4th or 5th gear, around about 100 miles an hour on the apex of the corner, so, you know, it's not the easiest of places to overtake, and we'll definitely need to see, because if some of them go for the wet, they're going to be quick in the early stages. They might struggle towards the end of the races. A lot of drivers heading back for pit lane, so we'll do a quick little bit of admin for you guys just while we're awaiting. There's Jonathan who's back. You can see he's slightly changed his gamer tag, which is frustrating for me when I was doing some graphics that you're going to see later on, so if he wins it's going to look quite funny. but that's a different story. Also, Nolan, who's currently in the pits, he's taken over the other Toro Rosso seat from Paris. So Paris had a great start to the season as well. He was up and he's still currently 6th in the standings on 50 points, but due to other, his real life and stuff like that, he's obviously decided to drop back to just being a reserve. So we might still see him later on in the year, but that has given Nolan, the Frenchman, a full-time seat now for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and it gives him a chance to really lay the rubber down and put the hammer down and see what he's made of for these final few rounds. Okay, he might not be in a championship winning position, but he should be able to have a good battle with his teammate Surface. Currently, they're occupying P17 and 18, although we are expecting them back out on track anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, first to 17th, even if there are varying levels of strategy and varying levels of setup being used here, there's still 1 second separating first and 17th. That's just amazing.
Yeah, it's been the same every weekend so far. It's been so close, it's been so tight in the field. It's just like knowing where to look half the time is fun and games as Onyx comes back into the pit lane and he caught the wall there. Turn 15, which was a bit strange. Maybe he was looking at something on his dashboard panel or on his steering wheel or something there, but well, interesting to see what can do. I'm just having a look through the chat. And Caden Forbes thinks that Danny is 100% on a wet setup, saying that he was in a practice session with him and he was doing 19 1s, 19 0s and 18 9s. Now, he is still about an 18 obviously. I think he's doing an 18.4 as his current lap time, as we're getting a bit quiet on the track for the moment, as a lot of drivers are getting ready for their final runs. Fabi out on the track at the moment, a few drivers on out laps. But it would be interesting to see what, if that genuinely is. I mean, I don't think we'll ever know until either race pace makes it obvious, or if they get into the top 3, we speak to them afterwards. But we'll need to wait and see. Vasta Racer, who is out of the session, is your pole sitter at the moment at 119.3736, 1,000ths of a second quicker than Williams, Jim Sven, who's in second, Danny MG in third, and Fabi up there for Ferrari in fourth. So Ferrari 4th and 9th at the moment. Surely they're due some luck this season, surely, Kieran.
I mean, they were let down at the Italian Grand Prix there, no points scored, but they finally did get some points on the board at the Circuit of the Americas. At least that's an upside, but they've got to try and just get some points on the board. Once the points are on the board, hopefully some form will follow for the Italian team, but at the moment it has just not been their season, kind of similar to last season, Andy.
Yeah, last season they did finish at the bottom of the standings, the wooden spoon. They spent most of the season with only one driver of LRR2 who's not came back for this season. I do know he had some injuries. If you are watching R2, lovely to hear, I hope you're doing well. Hopefully we'll see you back soon. Fabi's pulled back into the pits, retired from the session because he's not going to have enough time to get back out with a minute. Well, he might have, but it would have been touch and go, but he's decided enough is enough. We've got 1 minute 50 left in qualifying here. The field down to 17th, covered by less than a second. Still waiting on lap times from La McQueen, who had a great race at the Circuit of the Americas a couple of weeks back before in our last race, and Blizzard, who's we've seen before as well in qualifying, done a few runs, then validates and then nails it on the final run, so he's really got to do it again one more time, but he's putting a lot of pressure on himself.
Absolutely, but if there's one person you can count on trying to get that lap at the last possible moment, Blizzard would be one of them. Also, watch out for Lewis as well. He is extremely quick over one lap, but he's just invalidated his lap going through turn 12 as Danny now goes on to provisional pole position, 119.2 from the Williams driver. Sparks now moves up to the second row of the grid. He's now up to third with a similar lap time to Williams' Jim Sven there. Now, you can see, I saw there Sven just a little bit of rallycross going through turns 5 and 6 there, cutting the track, and he almost lost the back end, so he's got to be careful about taking chances like that. He's trying to make this track the shortest it possibly can be. We have got a Renault just pulled to the side over at turn 7 or 6 there. It's La Maquina who has pulled to the side. No lap set for him, so he will not be setting a lap time in this qualifying session. If Blizzard can post a lap time here, he will be able to at least jump La Maquina, no matter what lap time he puts on the board. But yeah, only a handful of seconds to go. I can't call this pole position, Andy. I think you're going to have to do this one.
No, I don't think anyone can call this one, because although Danny's putting that brilliant lap at a 19.2, 1/10th clear, anybody else is now not going to have enough time to do another lap, because look at that Fuel warning light is running, so his teammate has just came back into the pits, so Sven's not going to improve either. As the checkered flag comes out, Lee Finley's on a lap at the moment. He's probably the highest one up due to do a lap at the moment. We'll try and work our way through the field. See, there's a Haas coming through the final part. That's Onyx into the final couple of corners, so the Haas driver coming through here. The Dutchman, can he make a good lap time here? Currently in 9th position in the top 10. What's it going to be for the Haas driver? He moves up to 8th. Slightly better lap time there. We are 19.498 from Onyx, puts him in the 8th position. Dezo's not going to improve. Casper's out there trolling around, so he's going to be out. In fact, he's now going to be outside the top 10. Speedster, out of nowhere, has put himself into pole position. We are 114. That's a glitch, surely.
Well,
that's dodgy.
Well. I mean, he might have found a shortcut somewhere, but at the moment he will be on provisional pole position. Blizzard now moves himself up to P8. I was just going to say about Onyx, because he'll be hugely frustrated with that one. He went purple through Sector 2, and he's found himself on the cusp of the top 10 with that lap. He'll be disappointed with that one. Dezo, obviously now trundling along. He will not be on the lap. Tactician also not on a lap as he rounds the final corner. Lamakina not going to be able to set a lap time whatsoever, and as they all come across the line, that looks like the end of the session, and we'll have to get confirmation as we head towards the qualifying times. But if the table doesn't lie, Andy, if he said a 14.8, he must have said a 14.8.
I want video proof of that. That's ridiculous.
Maybe he got airborne at sort of turn 5 and 6.
I don't know. I mean, we'll wait and see, because I have seen it glitch sometimes before, and then it actually resets itself when we go through the standings. Dezo's managed to get himself disqualified and ruin P12 because he's parked the car in a dangerous location. So that's what happens. The game just picks up on things. Absolute mayhem going on here at the end of the session. Casper was on a lap. I thought he was not on a lap. He actually got 4th in the end. But well, qualifying standings, I'll let you go through this one.
Well, I mean, there it is, Speedster at the top there, 114.8. I'll need video evidence, Speedster. I'll let you know my email later. Danny in 2nd, Vasta Racer in 3rd, with Casper in 4th, Sparks in 5th, with Sven in 6th, Fabi in 7th, Lee Finley 8th, Blizzard in 9th, and Gamer rounds out the top 10. It's Onyx in 11th, Jonathan in 12th, Welsh in 13th, Chocolate 14th, Tactician 15th, Prunenz in 16th, Nolan 17th, Surface 18th, Lamakina didn't set a qualifying time, and Deso getting himself disqualified during that qualifying session. He will start at the back of the grid. Now becomes the great part of the race. Those who've started or set their qualifying time on the dry setup obviously get a chance or have no chance.
So just to cut across you there, Kieran, sorry, my apologies. I'm just looking in the chat that we have for this, and I've just seen that we're going to reset the lobby. They're not restarting qualifying, so I think they're going to take some of what's there. But there's going to be some changes, so we're going to have a little bit of an interlude here in a moment. So bear with us, because even we don't know quite what's going on just yet. Okay, but I've just seen the chat there.
Well, I would say what they're going to do is they're going to have a look at that qualifying time from Speedster, obviously a 14.8. They're going to probably ask and see video evidence of it to see what lap time he actually set, and then slot him in where his lap time would be, and then organise the grid through that. I think that's what's going to happen. But as you would have seen, it would have been pouring down with rain. I don't know if that's going to be the race scenario as we get to it, but what that's going to mean, Andy, is if Parc Ferme rules are on, well, they won't be affected because we'll go straight into the race. And what that means then is it's going to be a free setup.
It will be, yeah. We're in uncharted territory here with this one, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
At the same time, everybody's in the same boat, so everybody can change their setup then, if that's the case. Because obviously you've got no way of being able to police if everyone's using the same setup they're using in qualifying. So it's impossible. Will it still be raining? As you just seen, I cut back to the pit lane camera, and you could see it was chucking it down. It was almost like I was here in Scotland when it's in the middle of winter. It was that bad. Trust me, I know what the weather's like here. It's just ridiculous.
I have to say, you said, oh, we're all in the same boat, and I saw the track was completely flooded. I thought, oh, Andy's making a pun there. I like that.
I'm going to say I made that one on purpose. When to be honest, I completely never even noticed. But this is going to be interesting. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens here. So we're in a bit of the dark here. All I noticed when you were going through the qualifying standings was we've got the chat and the PSN chat that we use to keep everyone up to date and stuff. And I noticed it says we're going to be restarting the lobby. So where that means I don't think they're going to be restarting qualifying. We're just going to have to wait here and see what goes on because, well, we're still waiting to see what happens. There's my invitation at least, so I've had that at least. That's a good start.
No, I saw in the chat there that they're going to go straight into the race. There will be no qualifying. I'm assuming they're going to take the results from that qualifying session and run with those. And I don't know what's going to be the weather, whether it's going to be similar to what we had, or if it's just going to be up to the weather gods. I'm not quite sure, but what we will do is try and make sure that we give you some racing action because, of course, we've all been waiting and pining for AOR F1 PS4 since last week when the servers just completely packed up on PS4. Now we're finally back, and it's just even more of a delay. It's even more of a hype to try and get this race started. But hopefully we will get this race underway very, very shortly. And who knows what weather conditions they're going to be like, whether park firm is going to be enabled, whether there's going to be a strict enforcement to have to start on the setup you ran qualifying in, and if so, that's going to be a big task for people to police that.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think that's going to be possible because then you're taking people's words for it. Now, some people will do it. You know, some people will stick to that. You know that. But there might be one or two, and I'm not saying anybody would, but you might get some people going, no, there's no way you can tell. I'll just put this setup on and say that's what I was running with. So it's got to be, you've got to allow them to run whatever setup they want to do. In terms of the grid, we're going to have to wait and see. That Speedster's lap, well, he's got speed in his name, but, 4.5 seconds quicker than anyone else around 3.5 miles is...
That's incredible. Incredible,
I really do want to see his point of view to see where that happened, to be honest with you. Because I don't even think the time trial's anywhere close to that either. So something's happened there. It's glitched of some sort. I've not a clue what's going on. But we're waiting for the lobby set up. Just while we're waiting there, we'll come back in just a second. We'll just run this advert quickly from our title sponsor, which is Hype Energy. And there we go. So a silent advert because why is OBS muting everything for me tonight? I don't know what's going on. Just trying my patience. I'm telling you that much.
I've heard it all before, Andy. All before.
Yeah, you see, you get to sit there and watch whatever you want. It's fine for you. You don't need to worry about all this.
No, you know what? I'm right. You're right. I am going to watch what I want, and I'm going to watch the stream as we go and see the silent advert. But no, I'm kidding. No, we come back to the Australian Grand Prix. A little bit of waiting to go before we get there, but we might as well just take this opportunity to have a look at the season so far, Andy. I mean, we don't really get many opportunities like this. You've got two drivers who've had 2 wins each. You've got Danny, who's currently second place in that driver's standings, and then of course you've got the Williams of, I believe that's Sven at the top there. It's a different name on the drivers championship on the AOR website, so that's why it always catches me out. But they've both got 2 wins, 3 points between them. That is a very close running for the championship. And let's not forget that Sven at the start of the season at Bahrain got 16th place at the very start, and then came back to Belgium with a win. And of course, that was the one race I missed where the weather just played havoc with the rest of the results.
3 laps to go, and it starts to rain. Yeah, that was quite fun. That one. I lost my voice at the end early. But as you can see, championship standings are up on the screen just now. Apologies for the black background. I'm not playing about anything else, but hope you enjoy them because I put a bit of effort into these. But yeah, 3 points between them at the top. Casper's only 10 behind Danny as well, so he's not too far back. And Vasta Racer only 3 points behind him. It would make you think already that it's most likely going to be one of these four, if that are going to take it, with the two Williams drivers surely the favourites to go to the end of the season and win the championship. But as you go through the midfield, I mean, you've got Blizzard on 53s. If you take Paris out, so to speak, he's now got a nice gap to Sparks, who's in 36. And then you've got Lewis and Prinez and Onyx, very close together as well. So it's a very close run thing. Obviously, Sparks has scored in every round. Danny has as well. So I think they're the only two drivers to have scored points this season in every race they've started, which is, considering how competitive the field is an incredible result on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say with the Williams, they are currently running away with it at the moment. And like we interviewed them a couple of weeks ago, that at the moment the atmosphere in the team is good, which is always what we want to hear. But there's got to be a certain point where the team not becomes we, rather it becomes me. When do you think that turning point could be, where the teammates really do butt heads as rivals?
It's a tricky one. I mean, depends on a few things, obviously, in my opinion. For me, if they get to a point where they get to the final race and the only ones who can win it are going to be one of those two, the gloves come off. I think up to that point, you've got to try maximise things, or we might see it if they get to a point, because at the moment they've got such a lead, as you can see, in the Constructors' Championship. They are, what's that, about 72 points clear, I think it is, if the maths is right in my head. So they could wrap up the Constructors' Championship a lot earlier than, what the drivers could be, and then that could allow them to just go for it as the season comes to a close. I mean, it's definitely going to be very interesting indeed. Racing Point are looking very strong as well, especially with Vasta Racer Casper. You just wonder how much closer he would be if he didn't have Bahrain, and then he had obviously the incident in Italy as well, cost him scoring points in both those rounds. So there's so many twists and turns in this championship already, and I think there's still more to come. The field is just so close together that anything can happen, and the simplest thing could make the hugest difference come the end of the year.
Absolutely. Just a quick update about the race. Speedster's lap time was found to be slightly invalid. He actually set a 20.2, which means he'll be starting from 16th place. So that's the update right now. Yeah, we're just getting the grid sorted and finalised, everything like that. And then hopefully we shall get underway very, very shortly. Just looking back at the standings here, I think Vasta Racers hit a really good run of form. Okay, he did retire from that qualifying session, but he got a win at round 3, which was the British Grand Prix. In fact, no, he didn't. He got the win at Japan because we had that great battle that Lee Finley started by leaving his stint very, very late in the first stint. But he's had podiums since then. He got 3rd place at the Italian Grand Prix. He got 2nd place at the American Grand Prix. He's currently sitting on 70 points, 16 points away from the championship leader. Casper's been in and around there. He's had two sort of blemishes on his record right now. 14th at Bahrain, 16th at the Italian Grand Prix. Okay, it was 4th place at COTA, but he's had podiums since then, a win at the British Grand Prix. That's where I was getting mixed up, you see. But yeah, across the championship, only 4 race winners, or 5. Is that 4 or 5?
4. Vasta Racer, Casper, Sven, and Danny.
You know what? I need to go to the opticians, Andy. That's quite clear to see. But yeah, 4 race winners this season so far. We're heading into the 7th, well, technically the 7th round of the season because of the cancelled Chinese Grand Prix, or the rescheduled Chinese Grand Prix, of course. Yep. So it could be, between the Williams, a very interesting scenario. I mean, it seems like we have both of them in the interviews at the end of the race. It just seems it's always a natural thing, right? Let's invite those two. Yeah. Business as usual.
They're consistent. That's definitely one thing they have, and that's one thing that, if I remember correctly, I was saying that at the very start of the season, is that you need to be consistent to do good, because this was probably one of the most open fields in PS4 F1 here in AOR for a number of seasons. We've seen TRL Schnitzel win the last 2 championships. Last season, he done 16, 17 races, and he was first or second in every single one of them. He had the championship wrapped up by Singapore. So, you know, it really opens it up to the point where consistency really does matter this season. I mean, Vasta Racer has got that win in Japan, which has helped, but he's been kept up there towards the front end, not too far. He's 16 points behind. He's still within striking distance, purely on the fact that he's been consistent. Because if we have a look at his results, he was fourth in Bahrain. Okay, he had a couple of non-point scores in Belgium and Britain. Britain especially was a real interesting race in that one. But then his last three races, first in Japan, third in Italy, second in America. So he's really got himself on a roll, and if he can continue that one into tonight, he's really going to put himself back up into that fight again. But the Williams boys are definitely the ones you've got to give favourite tags to, basically.
I've got to give a shout out as well to Paris, who's currently sixth place in the championship. He's been very, very consistent this season, and at times he's been unlucky not to be on the podium. 2 fourth places, a fifth place, 2 sixth places, with the only real blemish being the American Grand Prix, or the US Grand Prix, where he finished 16th. So he's been in and around of the points for sure, but it's just that final podium position has eluded him so far, and who knows, that could turn around here tonight at the Australian Grand Prix. But yeah, that is a pretty good season. So too for Sparks. He has not finished a race outside of the points, as we said earlier on in the graphic. I mean, that's an impressive stat in itself, to come to the top tier in AOR on the PS4 and to be able to finish all the races and in the points as well. Okay, he might not be up the table, he's 7th place, but I commend that. I'd love to be finishing in the points every single race at the top tier. And just as we're saying that, we are counting down. We're going into the race. This is it, Andy. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Where are we racing again?
Around the lake.
Yes. I always get that one mixed up.
So the lobby is starting to go back up. So I'm just looking through. We'll wait until we see it on the screen. I will put it back to the on-track action very shortly once the lobby loads. But I believe that Speedster is going to be starting in 16th, as the race director side of things in the game showed that his best lap time was a 1 minute 20.2. So where he found 6 seconds for, I want whatever pills he's had beforehand, whatever sweets he's having, give me some of those, because I am slow. But yeah, so we are getting onto track, so we'll have a look at things and see what goes on. Now, I wonder what this is going to do in terms of the weather as well, because we did discuss that too. We're not sure if it's going to be anything different. It is still raining, so that is interesting. I'm going to bring it back onto the actual screen. You can see it's absolutely chucking it down in the pit lane right now, so really going to be interesting. So I'm guessing that what's happened is that they've kept the weather, as close as possible to what it was due to be. But how that's then going to change things? Is it going to rain all race? Is it going to still dry up? I'm not been into that side of things enough to know, if I'm being honest with you.
The initial weather report we were getting from drivers was that it was going to be raining heavily in the first part of the race, for the rain to die off, but not completely. The idea was that drivers expected it to rain for the entire race, but there could be an option to get to the intermediate tyres at the end of the race. So let's see what happens. Fingers crossed. Let's see what goes ahead.
Now, you might have noticed there on the bottom of the screen, since we are looking at pit lane, Casper left the session and it migrated to host, because Casper is normally the one who hosts these lobbies. He is basically the coordinator for the tier, along with Tactician and a few others. So we are about to go.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
Get that graphic back off, Andy. No, it's a restart. The grid didn't work. Short and simple. Apparently, the grid did not work, because you can see there Onyx is at the back of the grid. And yeah, so we're going for another restart. Go on, get that graphic back up.
There
go on.
Go. Put that one back up. Yeah.
I can't see it, but yes, it's there. I hope.
Apologies for all of this, folks. Obviously, we're running with what we can do, and doing what we can as well. I mean, the drivers are heading out on the formation lap. I think a few of them maybe just sneakily getting a little bit of running in the wet before they jump out the lobby. So be interesting to see what happens. But it's obviously not done the grid properly, as you say.
Yeah.
These are the fun things that happens when you bring technology into it. Never works.
It happens. It happens. And the thing is, look, Andy, we're on the edge of our seats here wanting this race to start. I cannot believe and feel what the drivers are feeling right now. They'll just want to get this race underway. But yeah, this adds to the tension as well. They've gone through the laps. They've got all that practice in. Now it's that nerves on the start of the grid. I mean, I can imagine the nerves being on the grid once, but so far they've had to line up twice on the grid and still no start. So yeah, the tension will definitely building. That anxious sense of actually wanting to get onto that grid as well. Could be an interesting turn one for sure, because there'll be a lot of impatient people right now on that grid. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, definitely going to see what happens. As I say, apologies for this. Things obviously had an effect during qualifying, as you've seen, with Speedstar somehow doing a 1 minute 14.3, which was found to be not correct, obviously. People got DQ'd at the end, also. So things have gone wrong, which isn't great. I'm not going to point fingers at anything because I don't know what it is.
Point fingers at me.
we're God knows how many hundreds of miles away, and I'm not going to point fingers at you. It's not your fault, but hey,
my fault.
It's usually my fault, to be honest. I think obviously what happened there was obviously we're setting the grid based as close as possible to what qualifying finished as, so that we don't need to go through it again, because that's not exactly fair. And I'm guessing the only thing that must have happened was that something's gone wrong with the setting off the grid, because it wasn't right. As you say, the Onyx was at the back of the grid when he had qualified well within the top 10, I think. So there's plenty going on, but I mean, as you see, the bit that's now interesting is the pressure that's building, because although it's just, some people go, oh, it's just league racing, these guys take it seriously. If you're going to do this properly, you want to do it well, you are going to take it serious to some extent. And, there's all that bit sitting there. I mean, I still do a bit of league racing, albeit on Project Cars 2, not very well, but even I still get that bit of nerves before I start a race. You know what I mean? So these guys, knowing that they're on the top tier for the console, and each week can have anything from 50 up to 100 or so people watching, there'll definitely be nerves, especially when you throw in the wet weather as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you're thinking 29 laps around this circuit, in the wet weather, that it doesn't look like it will ease up in the race at all. Yeah, it's going to be an anxious time. It's a nervy time for everybody waiting, and everybody will just want this race to start. And it will be a tricky turns 1 and 2 for sure. I mean, I can't get the traction out of that in the dry, let alone the wet. So it'll be interesting to see how that all turns out. But of course, this could mean then that we have a race that's not got DRS whatsoever. And I believe, Andy, that's the first race this season where there's a possibility DRS will not be activated whatsoever.
No, I mean, we've not had that yet. I mean, we've seen it being switched off, if you remember, towards the end of the race in Belgium. With that rain shower that came, it did get switched off by the in-game stewards, but we've not had a race that's been entirely wet. I mean, every other race so far this season has been dry. Belgium is the only exception to that. So this is definitely something the drivers haven't had to deal with so far this season in proper full-on racing action here in the tier. So that's definitely going to make things interesting indeed to see what goes on. And I mean, as Mark Alimunda, former commentator here on the tier, lovely to have you along with us again, Mark. Hope you're keeping well. He's pointed out all it takes is one car to spin out of turn 1 or turn 2, and you've got a multi-car accident.
Yeah, you have, and it is as simple as that. We shall see how that all pans out, and obviously I spin it there in the dry, but hopefully these guys are a lot better, like leagues and mountains better than I am, just applying the power in the dry. But I don't normally race Australia in the rain, so it's one of those rare opportunities you get to say, oh, it's raining at the Australian Grand Prix. I mean, apart from Adelaide in the late 80s, early 90s, but that's besides the point. It doesn't normally rain at Albert Park when you visit there, so it's going to be an interesting race for sure. It's just we want to get that race started. Everybody's just on the edge of their seat, wanting to get this started, and hopefully we will do in the next couple of minutes. We just got to make sure the grid is
Set.
absolutely golden,
Yeah.
and we'll be able to get underway very, very shortly. Lots of drivers are already impatient. They're lighting up the screen with green ticks and taking them off. They're impatient, but we've got to wait for the grid to be absolutely spot on.
Absolutely. We need to make sure this is right so that no one is left out and no one is, you know, I'm trying to find the word that I'm looking for, but no one's out of position, which then puts them at a disadvantage. So no one's disadvantaged. It's a tricky one to do. I'm seeing in the chat a few of the drivers have dropped in, including Lewis, who's put there. He's the only pad runner. I didn't even realise you're on a pad, Lewis. That's what I get for not paying attention. So he's kind of praying for this rain, because that then takes us to that old story that we see every year about whether the pad is OP or whether the wheel is OP at certain tracks and conditions. Lewis seems to feel that the pad's going to do him well if it's raining. I've not got enough experience on this, and every time I see people talking about it, I'll be honest, I usually switch off because it's like, oh, this argument again, here we go. But he's obviously looking for the rain. He feels that's going to be his best chance to come through the field because he qualified outside the top 10 as well.
Yeah, it's that. I don't know if it's a myth or not, where apparently on the pad you get the better traction out of corners. Now I'm not sure if that's true. Don't shoot the messenger, but apparently that's a thing. But where the outlier is that you have less sort of finer input with the joystick. It's either pretty much left or right, unless you've got the absolute control or thumb control of insert simile here. But when you're on a wheel, you've got that exact and precise movement, that sort of more analog movement to correct the errors and to correct the oversteer that you could eventually have in the wet weather conditions, especially if the car's not set up right. So we'll see how that goes. We could start that debate now. We're not going to. We've not run out of things to talk about just yet. Come on now. But yeah, we'll see how everything pans out here tonight, and maybe that might work in his favour. And if he does, he can tell us all about it if he wins the race later on.
You never know. He's also put the simplest sense as to why the delay is. I'm not going to repeat it because obviously it's got some language in there, but I'm sure you could see it yourself. No. But basically, the grids, we had an issue at the end of qualifying for anyone who is just joining in. It said Speedster had done a 1 minute 14.3, basically. It caused
I still think it was a legit lap.
I would love to. I would love to see that on board. I hope he puts it on Twitter.
I'm on Speedster's side here.
But you know, that's caused obviously there was obviously some issues within the lobby. It was causing problems. So we tried to reset it. The grid was obviously being done manually. The first time round it got messed up. There was people in the wrong place. So this is the second attempt. So we are running late. We're going to be running into longer than we normally do, which for anyone who likes to watch at least the first half of this race before disappearing off at 8 o'clock to go and race in F2, F3 or any of the other tiers, sorry, you're not going to be seeing too much here tonight, I'm afraid, before you head off, but good luck to you as always, to anyone who is racing here tonight in the other tiers. But we need to make sure that everything is as good as possible. We don't want to have any other reruns. I mean, doing China is going to be enough. The fact that we're going to have to run through from here until the end of the season in Brazil without any break, whereas everyone else is. So do join us that week because we might be a bit lonely with no other tiers running. So please do join us on the 17th of May especially.
Yeah, I'm putting my hands together. I'm not exactly begging, not yet, but yeah, do come and join us for the Chinese Grand Prix. What I did like about that, it was quite a cynical thing for me to do, but I saw everybody posting about, practicing for China. I put all the hours into China, and then for the F1 PS4 race to be cancelled because of server issues, according to PlayStation, and to see everybody go, well, what was the point? And it's, I did in a morbid way. Quite funny, you know. It was quite funny to see that.
The bit that made me laugh, if I remember rightly, I think it was Sparks or Gamer, I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the Alpha drivers. They had mentioned, "Oh no, it looks like I'm going to have to miss out this week because my wheel's knackered. Something had gone wrong with his Fanatec wheel." And then lo and behold, we ended up having to cancel anyway, and he missed out on nothing. So,
yeah,
it's like, hey, did you wish for this? Voodoo dolls and stuff. But anyway, it looks like we are finally, as you can see, on the grids, and hopefully everything's good this time.
Yeah, so, fingers crossed. Well, what I'm going to say is, Andy, you spend all this time coming up with a strategy for dry weather, and you're not going to see it at all,
Oh no, no,
probably.
I'm still putting it up on the screen so you can see what you expect for future weeks. That's for sure.
Uh, for
This is
future
what
weeks, only at Australia, though.
exactly. But yeah, as you can see with the championship standings earlier and stuff, obviously we've got the hashtag AOR hype in the top right hand corner of the formation lap bit as well. You're going to see a winner graphic as well, similar to the TV bit. I've been working away in the background, trying my best to bring this up and do things that I've never been able to do and try and add things in that I know Mark Alimondo was doing last season. So that just gives you an idea of the pit strategy. We won't bother going through it because it's absolutely pointless, obviously, with it being soaking wet and looking like the lake. But that's what I've been kind of working on, and I'm trying to bring in wee bits as we go along. So hope you like it. I hope you liked the standings earlier on. Yeah, just trying to bring it up to pace. But obviously, as we're out in the formation lap now, everybody, of course, is on the full wet tyres, no surprises there. And now it becomes an interesting part. Who's going to do well? I mean, we've got Danny on pole, Vasta Racer in second, despite crashing out to qualifying with over 10 minutes to go, so he's quite lucky in that sense as well. Casper in third, Sparks fourth, Speedstad just trying to find where he is down the field. He's in 15th and stuck on the grid. That's not very good. Oh dear. I hope that's
That
not a
could
sign
be.
of, yeah, I hope that's not a sign of things to come.
That might have been contact made on the formation lap.
I
Even
hope.
slight contact sends you straight back to the grid. So
Yeah.
we shall see how that goes. But Danny now tiptoeing his way around the final corner, which is always a treacherous corner in the dry anyway, trying to get through there by keeping the back end in check. But Danny lines up onto the grid, second place in the championship with his rival Sven down in fifth place. Hold on to your hats. This is going to be a good one.
Absolutely, don't go anywhere. Thank you very much for sticking around here through these technical issues, but we are finally on the grid here at Albert Park for the start of tonight's AOR PS4 F1 race here at Australia. Danny MG in pole position, Faster Racer second, you've got Casper in third, Sparks fourth, Sven in fifth, Fabi in sixth, Lee Finlay in seventh, and I'm going to try and find a camera angle that at least looks forward onto the grid, but I don't think I'm going to get one, so bear with me. There we go, finally found one. 5 red lights are on. And round number 8 is underway here at Albert Park. And what do the starts look like going down into turn 1? It looks like Danny's got a half decent start, covering off Faster Racer towards turn 1. Casper going to the outside, keep an eye down the field. It's going to get very tight through the first couple of turns. The Renault going side by side with a Haas. That's Onyx and Jonathan having a bit of a side by side, but Danny's got away well. Faster Racer carrying on. Sven already up a place into P4. You can see the Haas going around the outside off the Alpha. It's 2 by 2 in the arc as they go into turn number 3, and they're still side by side. Fabi and Blizzard, Lee Finlay just ahead of him as well, going through turn 4 into turn 5. They go underneath the trees here as well in real life. This makes a big difference. Speedstad's left the session. That 1 minute 14 obviously was too much for his Came to handle, and he's had to leave now. That's unfortunate for him. And down the field, Lewis, the pad runner, not making any places so far in the opening corners, but back towards the front. Danny, half a second already on Vasta Racer, still not even completed lap 1. Vasta in second, Casper up to P3, and Sven up to P4, so he's made a position off the line. Sparks down to P5, Lee Finlay up 1 place to P6, Fabi down to P7, Blizzard holds on to 8th, Onyx up to 9th, and Gamer down to 10th. That rounds out your top 10. Then we've got Chocolat, Lewis Welsh, Jonathan, Tactician, Nolan, Prenes, Makina, Surface, Dezo, and Speedstar, who has just rejoined the session, so hopefully he can get back control of the car.
Absolutely. Very, very clean start from everyone involved. Meanwhile, we've got a battle for 15th between Nolan and Prinens, then making their way all the way through the last couple of corners. Prinens then into the gravel as he tries to rejoin. He might try and draw up the inside of La Marquina to try and defend his position, but he'll have still gravel on those tyres, and he loses out on that position for now though. But Danny leads the way on lap number 1, 1.3 seconds clear of Vasta Racer. Vasta Racer under pressure here from Casper as we make our way through turn 2, onwards now towards turn 3. Welsh there getting himself a 3-second time penalty, only the second lap of this race. No way through though for Casper. Meanwhile then, Blizzard has now moved up to 7th place as he tries to make his breaking point for turn 3 very clear and gets the way past Fabi. But yeah, very clean start from everybody. pretty much no contact all the way through. No one was spun around, and I believe all the front wings are still intact.
So far so good. The aerodynamics and the composite departments will be very happy that there's no missing wings. Down the field, Prines is fighting with La McQueen, who's going backwards, so the Renault's been off the track. Let's see if we can pick up. He's down to last now, so not sure quite what happened there. He was side by side with Prines. No obvious damage to the car, but he's been pushed all the way down from what was 16th now down to 20th and last in the field. But look at Danny up front. He's already 1.6 seconds clear. Well, you know the old rhyme says the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plane. Well, it seems to be working for the Spaniard right now because he's disappearing out front.
You know what? I'm not going to even attempt to say that one ever again. I'm going to just leave that one as yours. But yeah, for Lamborghini, it just looked like he ran wide on the exit of turn 5 and really did slow down. I think he was just trying to rejoin safely. But unfortunately for him, that meant he had to rejoin at the back of the field. But he's just got to try and recover now. That car doesn't look damaged, as you say. But he's just going to keep his composure and his wits about him as we approach the third lap of this race.
Absolutely. Normally DRS would be enabled at this point, but that's obviously not going to be the case in these conditions. Fabi is starting to fall back from the top 7, and there's a train starting to develop behind him. He's got Onyx, he's got Gamer, he's got the 2 Red Bulls sitting in there as well. Look at Gamer getting very close. Oh my goodness me, he's actually rolled up in the back wheel there, the Onyx, coming out of turn 1 and 2. He's lost out to both Red Bulls who go flying by. And let's see, we're not going to go 3 wide into turn 3, are we? Oh, that's Lewis getting squeezed onto the grass. Comes back to the inside line. That was his teammate who pushed him out there. Joglat holding on. Look at Gamer now up the inside through turn 4. And the Renault to Jonathan in there. Massive queue of cars through here, all behind Fabi. They've now just disappeared a wee bit from the back of the Ferrari. Onyx is now the lead of the train, but my goodness, we had the Alfa Romeo up in the back of the Haas there. That certainly wasn't PG-13.
Got a little bit airborne there, didn't he, Gamer? But again, looks like he got away with no damage there. Scot-free, but he's onto the grass in towards that turn 10 there, as Nolan now moves up a position ahead of Tactician. Full-time now driver in that Toro Rosso C, trying to prove his worth out there, currently now up to 14th place. We've got the 2 McLarens who have been working together as a team through qualifying every single race, but Blizzard flies past Lee Findlay, then up in towards 6th place as they enter the 3rd sector of this lap here. But yeah, now Danny, Prinens then getting up to P15 then ahead of Tactician, but he's got to watch out for the traction on the exit as we make our way now in towards turn 14 here, and that is Prinens who makes the move sealed and delivered as he makes that move stick. Chocolat meanwhile still on the back of Onyx there. Got to be careful about that traction on the exit of turn 16, that is for sure. Those wet weather tyres can display 70 litres of water per second, but even they will struggle around the mid-speed corners here at Albert Park.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a tricky one for the drivers all the way through. You can see Onyx. Oh my goodness, huge crash in the background. Gamer out of the race. You just seen the Alfa Romeo fly off to the side. We've got a virtual safety car. Absolutely big crash. I'm guessing they must have caught the curb there on the exit of turn 2. The car just shot to the left, and that is the Alfa Romeo out of the race, and we've got a virtual safety car here in round number 8. It's lap 4. Danny's 4 seconds clear at the front from Vasta Racer. He's disappearing ahead. He didn't really want a virtual safety car, but it's better that than the full one. You'll be happy at that at least. But that was a huge crash there from the Alfa Romeo, and I can only guess he's caught the curb in because it really did pitch him off to the left hand side and into the wall.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. He got onto the curb on the exit of turn 2, lit up the rear tyres on that very slippery paint of the curb, and unfortunately he is out of this race. And as Andy said, we are back under green flag racing, and it's a chance to try and jump the driver ahead of you. Nolan is right on the back of Jonathan then as we make our way in towards turns 11 and 12. Nolan there suffering with a little bit of understeer going through there, but I think that might just be the dirty air rather than any damage to that front wing. Onyx, meanwhile, is right on the back of Fabi here. This is the battle for P8 as they've got Lee Findlay right ahead of them. But yeah, Vasta Racer got the restart at the ideal time because he cut that advantage down to 2.8 seconds. It has now grown back to 3 seconds, so Danny is a man on a mission.
Yeah, absolutely. Danny looking good out front. 3 seconds clear at the moment. It was 4 during the virtual safety car, but obviously depending on when they hit the brakes to slow down for it, maybe just the benefit there, and obviously Vasta Racer might have been in a better position when it went back to green. But the Spaniard's looking good at the moment. Casper has dropped to just over a second behind on Vasta Racer as well. He's got 1.5 seconds to Williams. Jim Sven, who is in 4th, he's got Sparks 1.3 behind him in 5th position. Then you've got the 2 McLarens, a Blizzard Blizzard and Lee Finlay, and then you've got that train behind Fabi. You've got Fabi, Onyx, Jokla, Lewis Welsh, Jonathan, Nolan and Prinez in there as well, so you've got 8th all the way down to 14th in a huge train, and they're slowly creeping up onto the back of Lee Finley's McLaren as well, so it could soon become 7th to 14th and then even more than that as the train starts to develop. And it's not a DRS train, this is just pure race pace in the rain. Meanwhile, Prinez looking to the inside on Nolan into turn number 9. They're going to bump wheels across the curb, and that's the racing point round. And well, it's a tricky camera angle to see there, but I can tell you one thing, the racing point driver will not be happy at the newest recruit for Toro Rosso.
Absolutely not, but he's got to get on with it now. He's just been passed by Deso because, of course, he got that compromised exit. But yeah, I'm sure they'll be going to the stewards about that one. Brennan's, though, has to just regain his focus and re-overtake the Ferrari of Deso then as we make our way on towards the next right-hander at turn 12. He goes around the outside. He should, in theory, have better traction if you're going around the outside, but he makes contact with the Ferrari. No way through, and Deso really tries to drive the widest Ferrari here at Albert Park. He lunges then in towards turn 15, does Prinenz, and he does get that move signed, sealed and delivered through the final corner and is at least up a position, but he's now got a long road to go because he's now 2.7 behind surface.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, behind La McQueen, trying to make his way back through the field after his lap 1 incident that dropped him down. He's onto the back of Speedster, who is back in control of that Haas as well. So it's good to see that the American is back in charge of the front of the car. Up ahead though, Jocolat is side by side through 4 with Onyx. It's not a place you normally see side by side. He's had to pull back in into 5. So he's lost it, he's lost it. Oh, this could be tragedy for everyone. He's managed to let it roll back, thankfully, and he's going to have to wait for the entire field to come through. Just caught it on the curb there by the looks of it. Again, just so slippery. Remember, no assist here. They've not got any traction control or nothing, of course, and he just lit the tyres up. Round he went. He's bound to have wing damage because he bumped the wall quite hard there. Don't see anything on screen, and then thankfully he's seen where the cars were and he was able to just roll back and let it go into the other barrier, and no one collected him. That could have been a massive accident if cars had been a lot closer.
Yeah, I don't think he actually touched the wall at all there on the spin. I think he kept it just about out of that wall. If it was a touch, it was a very, very slight kiss, but that means he hasn't got any front wing damage. But yeah, could have ended a lot worse there. And I was braced for impact, and I was just watching from the spectator cameras.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, coming back towards the front end of the grid as we are on to lap number 7 of 29, and Sparks has closed up to the back of the championship leader of Williams, Jim Sven. So the Alfa Romeo driver starting to find his groove here, you would think, in this tricky conditions here at Albert Park. His teammates out of the race having binned it right there, proving out a virtual safety car just on lap number 4. But the Sparks here looking pretty good at the moment, and as we said earlier, he has managed to finish every race in the points so far, so if he can keep going, he's got a long way to go, of course, in these treacherous conditions, but he's currently on course to make it 7 out of 7, and he's closing up to the championship leader, so he's obviously got some good pace round here tonight.
He does indeed, and Danny is on some absolutely amazing pace right now, currently 4.7 clear of Vasta Racer, who wants to get his way up the table, currently P4 in the championship. Sven, though, down in 4th place. Well, he'll be hoping that he can try and get on some pace later on in this race. Maybe the rain is meant to lighten up towards the end of the race, but we're thinking that it's going to rain for the entire race. Could be an opportunity for intermediates at the end of the race, and that's where this strategy comes in. Yes, these wet weather tyres are probably the most durable tyres that the drivers have available here at the Australian Grand Prix, but even they have a sell-by date. I wonder if there's going to be any pit stops before a possible intermediate stint. There is an option for someone to go for the no stop, but the tyres will be screaming in agony towards the end of the race. Of course, it's a wet race, so there's no need to use any mandatory tyres. In theory, you can go to the end of the race without stopping.
Absolutely, and it'll be interesting to see if anyone will do that, but as you say, the tyres will be gone towards the end of the race, and especially if it does get a bit drier, just enough at least for intermediates, that maybe wouldn't be the best strategy. Someone down the field might try and do that one. They've got nothing to lose, maybe try and see if they can get into the points, but we'll need to wait and see. Blizzard picking up penalties. We've already seen quite a few penalties. There's a Lewis picking up a penalty. I think that's his second 3-second time penalty off the race, so he's already with that pad picking up penalties boys left, right and centre, but Danny, he's got the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 37.3. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 1 and Lama Queen is out. Let's see, oh, he's binned it. Similar.
Yes,
Yeah, virtual safety car for the second time here this evening. So this time it's for Lama Queen, and I'm guessing he's done the exact same thing that Gamer did. The only difference is he's bounced across to the other side of the track, wheel off the wagon, and out of the race. Retirement number 2.
Yeah, the drivers got to they've got to remember that the paint on these curbs are so slippery in these wet weather conditions. They can't use them as aggressively as they are, especially when they're going down on the power. Green flag racing, we are back underway. Very short virtual safety car there. But yeah, lap number 8, we're down to 18 runners, and both retirements have come on the exit of turn 2.
Absolutely proven to be a very tricky corner. The drivers are normally going through the apex of turn number 1, going around about 100 miles an hour in the dry, using the curb on the outside through 2 to get the best exit through that down the straight towards turn number 3. Speedster just sneaked by on Dezo coming up towards the fast chicane of turns 11 and 12, getting through before there, so that puts him up to 16th. Prines still in the back of Surface here, trying to get himself back up the field after that incident with Nolan. So he's had an incident with one Toro Rosso, and he's now going to see what he can do with the other one up front. But we're just getting a little sideways on the exit through 16. Jokla picking up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. We're going to see a lot of that here tonight. But up front on lap number 9 of 29, and well, it's Danny MG looking on course at the moment for his third victory of the season. He's nearly 6 seconds clear of anyone else, despite 2 virtual safety cars already. Vasta Racer has managed to get a gap over Casper, allowing him to concentrate in second. It's been one of the most impressive F2 champion performances in the last few seasons. Blizzard was the champion coming into last season and just didn't quite have the consistency needed, although speaking of that, Vasta's just run a bit wide there into the chicane of turns 8 and 9, so just holding it all together. But he's in second at the moment. Casper in third, no changes, that's where they started on the grid. Sven in fourth and Sparks in fifth. They swap places on lap number 1. Blizzard, as we were just talking about, he's up to 6 in this race at the moment and using a lot of the inside curb there through the second part of that quick chicane in turn number 12. His teammates dropped to 5 seconds behind, so the top 6 have disappeared from the rest of the field. Lee Finley in 7th, then it's Fabi in 8th, and then you've got this train behind. You've got Onyx, then Lewis Welsh, Jonathan, Nolan, Tactician, Surface not too far off as well, and then Prines too, so very close down the field. But Danny's looking peerless at the moment, 7 seconds clear up front now.
Absolutely, 136.9 was his last lap, which is now the fastest lap of this race. Just to put that into perspective, Vasta Racer's last lap, 38.2, a full 1.3 seconds he lost on that lap alone. It's incredible pace from Danny right now.
Well, if you look through it, actually, the quickest lap that's not Danny's, I think, is Blizzard on a 137.3, if I'm looking at the screen correctly. That means that Danny is easily at least nearly half a second quicker than anyone else's best lap at the moment. He's shown amazing speed just now through this race, and we're only on lap 10 of 29. But is he using the tyres up too quick? Could that come back to bite him later on if it does start to dry up? That's going to be the interesting part.
Well, we've seen that these wet weather tyres are very durable, right? They don't provide a lot of grip, but they are very durable in these conditions. You can easily just break your stints into half, basically, with these tyres, and you'd have similar pace throughout the race. So you've just got to be careful about when you pit in. Ideally, you'd probably go for the undercut, because, of course, then you'd have fresher tyres to try and undercut other drivers. But yeah, these wet weather tyres, with the delta and the grip that you lose lap per lap, is pretty much minimal. It's all about to do with your fuel management in this case, and of course, because you're in the rain, you're on the throttle less, you're braking more, you're coasting more, and that means you're saving fuel. So there's more fuel for the drivers to use and, well, pretty much attack with than they would in the dry setting. So they're just going to use that to his advantage, as we've got Deso around at the start of the third sector, and he's now retired from the race. I believe that's on his own accord, because his car's still moving there. That is our third retirement of this Grand Prix. Deso, who lost it just, I don't know, it's a bit too far forward to say that he lost it at turn 12. I'm not quite sure what happened, but in any case, he's decided to park the car and retire from the race. Brennan's then is into the pits, currently 15th place. He's got wet weather tyres on right now. The rain has slightly eased. Well, actually, no,
Wets
from that
again.
angle, I'm seeing it's not eased up at all. But yeah, on go a set of wet weather tyres for Prinens. And he will now rejoin. Well, he'll be in plenty of clear air to just get some laps under his belt. Let's see how that affects him in this race.
Yeah, we'll need to see. It's not expecting to have seen any pit stops at the moment. Maybe he's burnt them out quite badly. Dezo did leave the session. He did do that on his own accord. A little bit cheeky doing that on track. I'm sure frustration came into it, but thankfully it's not caused any safety car issues, because sometimes that has happened in the past. So we still carry on in green. Lap 11 of 29 there is your race leader. Danny MG have been asked if I can go on board with him for a lap. There's too much going on down the field to be able to do that, unfortunately, I'm afraid to say, but we'll give him a little bit of screen time just now before we jump down, because Lewis is pretty close to the back at Onyx, and look at this lovely overhead helicopter shot as he comes through turns 11 and 12. Just a little bit squirrely did that Red Bull get coming out of there. That gives Onyx the chance to just go down at the turn 13, pick his braking point in these tricky conditions and take the line of least resistance. 36.8 from Danny, so he finds another 10th of a second over his previous best, and I don't think anyone else in the race, apart from one lap Blizzard. Oh, contact there with Nolan on the back of Jonathan, is trying to go round the outside through 16. He just bumped him through turn 15, not able to get the move done. Now he's right in the slipstream here, coming down towards turn number 1. It's normally quite a shallow braking zone. Need to be very, very brave indeed. Onyx picking up a penalty through turn 1. Nolan decides to back out of that one. He give Jonathan a little nudge though, coming into turn 15, just unsettled the Renault, but couldn't get round the outside, and Jonathan holds on to what is currently P11 in this race as they try to close up to the others in the points. But Danny is he's driving away with us at the moment. This is an amazing drive. I know we're not seeing much of it because there's so many closeness of action going on through the field, but his driving's been absolutely peerless so far.
Yeah, normally when you're leading the race and you don't get much screen time, that's probably a good thing. It means you're doing all the right stuff, all the right things, and you're not doing anything that would make you stand out, which is what you want when you're leading the race. Absolutely. We've got Nolan here who's trying to close in onto the back of Jonathan, but he's had a scruffy first sector and he's fallen 7/10 behind the Renault there as he tries to close in. Blizzard has been just trying to eat into that gap between himself and Sparks. The gap currently 0.6 of a second. Casper, meanwhile, should have a battle on his hands as he tries to get second place away from Vasta Racer. What they've got to remember, though, is the longer that these two battle side by side into each corner, they'll lose even more time to Danny up ahead. He's already 8.4 seconds ahead. I don't think they can imagine that can get any worse.
No, you would imagine not, but at the moment he's just sort of driving away. It's almost 2 races now at the moment. Danny just trying to make sure he keeps everything on the straight and narrow, and then Vasta Racer and Casper at the moment for the podium position, so he's going to finish ahead of the others. Sven, Sparks and Blizzard trying to close that gap up, and then you've got 7 seconds between the two McLarens in 6th and 7th, I look like. So we might just get a nice wee battle shortly between Sparks and Blizzard. They're both part of the same esports team, CRG, to their drivers on screen just now. Sparks ahead of Blizzard, and Blizzard coming through the field quite nicely. He's up 2 places, started in 8th position, and he's been doing rather well here this evening so far in the rain. Hopefully I've not jinxed him with that, obviously, because we all know me and you are very good for commentators' curses, Kieran. But he's doing rather good at the moment, and you know, he's definitely improved his consistency after last season. There was a lot of scruffy races last year.
Yeah, and he got himself some decent points and a decent point haul last time out, especially. Really will have helped his confidence and really help him settle in to the top tier here in Apex Online Racing PS4 F1. But I'm just looking at Onyx here, 3/10 back on Fabi, who's trying to then close in on Lee Finley ahead. And of course, there's no DRS, so you don't get that benefit of the straight line speed heading down towards the heavy braking zones. There's 3 of them here. There's 3 DRS zones at Albert Park, but none of them today look like they're getting used, and this rain does not look like it's easing up anytime soon.
No, absolutely not. And if they were in use, there's 3 zones, but there's only 2 detection points. So if you get a detection point, if it was dry, up towards what's turn 14, you will get the DRS down towards turn 1 and down towards turn 3 as Lewis heads for the pit lane. Now I noticed that Joclat ended up in the pits last time around as well, so both Red Bulls along with Prinez have pitted in this race. No one else has came into the pits yet. That gives obviously Onyx a little bit of breathing room now to try and close up onto Fabi and Lee Finlay. Doesn't have anyone behind now with Lewis disappearing into the pits, so he can now concentrate. But yeah, some earlier pit stops than what I was anticipating. Thought a lot of these drivers might try and eke these tyres out just in case it does come to intermediate conditions, or if it didn't, try and have as fresh tyres as possible come the end of the race. So very interesting to see some early stops as Lewis has came back out ahead of Prenez and his teammate, so that's worked out nicely for him. He's got clear track ahead of him at the moment. Nolan trying to close back up onto Jonathan. That's now a points paying position that those two are fighting on, but we're halfway through the race as we cross the line this time by lap 14 of 29, and there is your race leader Danny MG, nearly 10 seconds clear at the front of the field, looking very comfortable just now at the moment as he picks his way through the puddles here at Albert Park. I don't know what's wetter, the lake in the middle of the track or the actual track itself. It's really hard to tell. There's the second place car, Vasta Racer, 36.6 from Danny. This is OP performance from the Spaniard. I mean, the next nearest lap is a 37.2. He's over half a second quicker than anyone else. It's just incredible pace.
It's great pace, isn't it? And that will give him such a boost of confidence in the car and in the weather conditions. That just helps him to no end. And once you set one fastest lap, you just want to push yourself. Right, there's more grip here now. I'm slightly lighter in the car because I've used a little bit more fuel this lap. Let's try and take the braking zone later. As that confidence builds, you'll just get faster and faster. But he's just got to guard against complacency because that would be his biggest enemy right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, down the field, and I've just noticed from the chat with Demon popping up, is that a Lee Finlay train that's starting to possibly develop? Remember Japan?
I remember Japan very fondly as Prinens then on new wet tyres, 36.3. That's the difference between the two of them so far. It's around 0.3 of a second. That is quite astonishing to see that one. But with these wet weather tyres, it does take them a while to heat up. Obviously, they don't run at the same operating temperature, nowhere near the same as these slick tyres. Normally, they'd be running about 50, 60 degrees centigrade, whereas you could see the dry tyres run about 70 to 80. And even then, you might be overheating them. So it's all important to keep those temperatures in good nick as well, because if you go under those temperatures, you get no grip. If you go over those temperatures, you get no grip. So it's all about managing tyre temperatures, but with so much water on the track, I hardly think that's an issue right now.
No, definitely not. And the interesting part as well is that Prenez's lap time there was 3 times quicker than what Danny's done and his best lap time. It's taken Prenez 4 laps to get the tyres in the right performance window, so to speak, with the temperatures to be able to set that lap time. Danny's done his lap on 14, 13 lap old tyres when he set it, so it shows he's on a bit of a different playing field at the moment, is the Spaniard. Excuse me, and that's not to take away from anyone else, because everyone else is more than capable on their day, as we've said many a time before. But Danny's looking very, very comfortable at the moment as we currently look at Casper, who's within a second of Vasta Racer, and the Dutchman came into this season, was expected to be one of the championship protagonists. He is up there about 13 points behind Jim Sven at the moment, who is your championship leader coming into tonight. A few tricky races, Bahrain in Italy, we mentioned them earlier, where he crashed out and just maybe put a bit of a dent in the young Dutchman's confidence. He's still looking for that good performance. I mean, if we look at his results this season, he was 14th in Bahrain and 16th in Monza. But away from that, he's been second twice in Belgium and Japan. He won in Silverstone, he was 4th last time in America. You just wonder, even though he's been doing well, could those incidents still be lingering there?
Yeah, it can do. I mean, if you get a couple of bad performances, maybe not necessarily in a row, it can dampen your form a little bit. But to be honest with you, I think Casper's done really well so far this season. Obviously, getting a win under your belt is the best sort of way you can boost your confidence in the series altogether. So hopefully he gets that confidence. He's currently running in 3rd. He's got good pace about him, 0.8 behind Vasta Racer right now. He's just lingering there for now. Both cars are pretty much evenly matched out on track right now. The 37.4 being set by Casper there as he breaks towards turn 1. But yeah, it looks like he wants to try and close in on that racing point. He knows second place at least is up for grabs here tonight.
Definitely. So he's got the possibility of doing that. That would really help because at the moment, of course, he is ahead of Sven, who is ahead of him in the championship. At the moment, Danny MG is going to probably take the championship lead from this one. We come back down the field to the slowly developing Lee Finley trainers, as we mentioned in the chat already. And Nolan is getting closer and closer and then just drops away again from Jonathan. He gets right up to the rear wing of that Renault to the point you'll know all the intricacies in that rear diffuser, and then he just sort of slips away again. I don't know if he's just maybe overdriving the car, maybe trying too hard in it, but he gets really, really close and then he just drops off. Maybe just pushing too hard, or maybe Jonathan's just better in certain parts of the track. It's hard to tell. We'll have a watch, because you can see that the Frenchman's got much better traction than the German coming out of turn number 8 up towards turn number 10. He's locked up, giving him a little bit of a push there through turn 9 and 10. Now he's got a huge time slapper on the exit as he tries to get the power down, manages to hold it together. So again, he does seem to be just ebbing and flowing and just maybe pushing a little bit too hard. Got a lock up there, nearly cost him some wing damage.
Yeah, I noticed as well that Nolan is struggling out of the traction areas, and that is where Jonathan is really strong right now. And all that time that Nolan gains through the corners and down the straights, he loses that on the slow speed corners and in the traction zone. So he's got to try and work on reducing the wheel spin wherever he can. Casper, meanwhile, right on the back of Faster Race heading towards turn 1. Now 0.2 of a second. Could a move be imminent then for Casper as he makes his way through turn 2? Onwards now towards turn 3 as Blizzard picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. Casper looking for a move down the inside, but he knows he's just a little bit too far back there. Sven, meanwhile, behind them has got to be careful because Sparks and Blizzard are quickly gaining on him, 10th by 10th, lap after lap, just keeping the presence there and putting the championship leader under a little bit of pressure. We know Sven can handle the pressure pretty well, but at the moment, it could be more than 4th place at stake here for him.
Yeah, absolutely indeed. And, you know, the drivers just seem to be taking it easy through the opening stages, just making sure they know where the track is, know where their tyres are at, keep as much life as they can, because we've not really seen much attempts to overtake towards the front of the field, which is why we have predominantly looked down the field to see what's been going on, because it's pretty much been this order for the top 6 since about lap 3 of the race, as they just take it easy, just wait to the end, wait to see if they need to pit at all or not, just keep the tyres underneath them. But Casper, you seen him going down to turn number 3, just pulled out a little bit and then back into the racing line, just filling the mirrors at the racing point, just letting Faster Racer know, I'm still here, I'm not going anywhere, just keeping his attention to what he is doing rather than paying attention to what's going on in front and picking out his racing line. Sven's got that same problem as well, the only difference is he's got 2 cars closing up behind as Lewis Welsh picks up another 3-second time penalty, so that's him up to 9 seconds. He might as well be in New Zealand at this rate if he carries on as he's going. But down the field, past the top 6, Lee Finley in 7th. Fabi's just dropped a little bit back. He was within half a second a few laps ago. He's just starting to close back up. So the Scotsman just about holding off the Ferrari driver at the moment. Onyx in there in 9th. Jonathan's still got that Toro Rosso all over him like a bad rash over the last points paying position in 10th and 11th. And you can see in the background that surface going around the outside of turn number 2. Much better traction there, and around the outside he goes on Tactician. So nice little overtake that we just caught in the background there for Surface, and the Toro Rossos are now running 11th and 12th.
Yeah, good move from Surface. It moves him up to 12th place. He's now 2.9 behind Nolan. And speaking of Nolan, he's right on the back of Jonathan once again as they make their way in through turn 6 and 7, then through turn 8 and towards the heavy braking zone of turn 9. And I just saw on board there again, he's struggling for traction out of turn 8. Let's see how the car handles turn 9 here. This is where the traction really falls away from Nolan, but this time he's able to keep it much more in check here on the exit of turn 9, then through turn 10, then onwards then towards 11 and 12. Normally you'd be thinking of just dropping a gear or 2 through there, but he actually dropped to 5th place, or 5th gear I should say. And Nolan still right on the back of Jonathan then as they make their way now on towards turn 12. But again, no way through right now, but he's right on the back of the diffuser of the Renault there. Casper, meanwhile, has come into the pits then from 3rd place. Nolan looked for a move up the inside, tapped the back of the Renault of Jonathan, almost lost the back end, kept it in check and still fights for another day, but he's got to be careful.
Yeah, Casper coming out of the pits now. So the first of the leading runners deciding it's time to pit. He's going to have 9 laps, so he can really just push those tyres as long as he doesn't overheat them badly. He's got the chance to just really push them. He's going to come out behind both Surface and his teammate Tactician. So from 3rd in the race down to 13th. Now, will this trigger Danny or Vasta Racer coming into the pits? I mean, Danny, if he came in, he's going to come out at 2nd or 3rd place with fresh tyres and probably be able to pass easy enough anyway. But does he feel the need to do that? I mean, he's well out in front. Nolan with a penalty now for trying to get by Jonathan. Not able to do so. He's now in the top 10, of course. But does anyone else decide to bite on that one from the Dutchman, or do they decide to just keep going with their own race? That's going to be the interesting point as we come into the end part of this Australian Grand Prix. Once again, thank you very much to everyone for sticking with us through this slightly elongated broadcast here tonight. We've just ticked over an hour and a half. We did have some issues between qualifying, which delayed the restart by a good 20 or so minutes, unfortunately. So really do appreciate you all sticking around. Hope you have been enjoying the action that we're bringing, but that man has been peerless out front. Danny MG leads by nearly 14 seconds from Vasta Racer in 2nd, who's now got clear track and nobody behind them to worry about. There's your championship leader, Williams Jim Sven, now in 3rd position, with Sparks in 4th, Blizzard in 5th place, and Casper has just gone by his teammate Tactician in probably what was a very choreographed move that made it look like the Royal Valley.
Yeah, absolutely. Team orders in full effect there as Tactician lets his teammate go. Up to 12th place goes Casper, but this has made a suggestion here. But well, Casper's put down the marker. He said, "This is what I'm going to do. How do you react?" Well, Danny at the moment hasn't reacted, or if he has, he's reacted by staying out on track. So too has Vasta Racer. That's promoted Sven up to 3rd place, and Sparks and Blizzard here might get a new lease of life because those 2 positions up ahead, therefore the podium position, Sven is separated by Sparks and Blizzard there, and they're both 1.4 seconds, or at least Blizzard is 1.4 seconds behind Sven. Meanwhile, then Jonathan has done a really good job so far of keeping Nolan behind. Surely people can't be going for the no stop. Surely not. I think what's going on is they can see that the rain has slightly eased up. It's not as heavy as it was before, but you can see the amount of spray still out on track really does suggest that it's still time for the wet weather tyres. I wonder if some of these drivers are waiting for that crossover period, if there's going to be one, to then put on a set of intermediate tyres to get to the end of the race.
I get the feeling that's what a lot of them are going to be doing. I mean, for these guys like Lee Finley, Fabionics, Jonathan, etc., that are towards the bottom end of the top 10 and outside of it, as we get that lovely overhead helicopter shot of the Renault coming down towards turn 13 with the Toro Rosso behind it. For a lot of the guys, they're maybe looking for that good result this season. This might be the chance to do it. We're taking a chance, maybe going for something a bit different. Nolan's just stuck it up the inside, and he's pushed them off. Now, I don't know if that was due to them just getting connected together or what, but that was not really a move in my opinion. I think that was a bit from Nolan. He got a little bit too aggressive there. Jonathan in the wall. He's now going to have to come into the pits. Casper just sneaked by the Renault. Nearly got caught out again, but I think Nolan's been a little pushy there.
It certainly looked like it. I mean, we'll have to see what happens there. But there you go. Onyx has come into the pits. He's on a set of intermediate tyres. The rain has really let up so far. Jonathan retires. He got a 5-second time penalty awarded by the in-game stewards for a severe collision with I think it was Casper there. So it was. I thought that was very harsh to penalise him for that. But Onyx, in the Haas here, you can see how much the rain has let up now. Onyx thinks it's time to have the last few laps on a set of intermediate tyres. Now then, that is going to put Casper in a huge position here. He's on fresh, wet tyres, but will the track start to dry up to a point where you've got intermediate tyres? That standing water is going to be lifted off the circuit as quickly as possible, but Onyx, sounds like, Andy, he's struggling.
Yeah, he just clipped the wall coming out of 4 there, a bit of carbon fibre off the front wing, so he's already ruined that chance. Maybe just a little bit too much. You can see certain parts of the track where it's clearly drying up when we get the overhead shots, but he just caught the curb on the exit of 4, pushed him in the wall. Vasta Racer is coming into pit lane now, so let's see what Vasta Racer does. Winner in Japan, 4th in the championship at the moment, and he now pulls into pit lane. Does he decide it's time to go for the intermediates? Will follow the Racing Point driver to his pit stall, and it is a set of intermediates for the Racing Point. So this is now going to be an interesting last few laps. We're on lap 23 and 29. I don't think there's going to be enough time for Vasta Racer to catch Danny unless he's timed it to absolute perfection. The interesting point is going to come, Casper's just ahead of him now, so Casper has jumped him with the fresh tyres. In fact, you can see Casper is about to try and make a move on the VTR surface into turn number 3. And he nicely gets that one done, so this will be interesting. Casper's on 3 lap old wet tyres. Vasta Racer just out has been undercut by Casper, and Vasta's now on the intermediate tyres. We've seen Onyx already swipe some of his front wing off on his out lap, and you can see Nolan's came in for intermediates as well, so a couple of drivers thinking it's time, and a few are not. Let's ride on board with Vasta Racer at the moment on his intermediate tyres and just see how he's struggling, locking up there, coming into turn number 9 and 10, and it's just, he seems to be a bit more comfortable than Onyx did. Onyx seemed to be a bit more leery, a bit more sideways. Danny's into the pit now, he's got 19 seconds in the bag, so this is almost a no-brainer. He might as well cover it off, he's got as much of a gap as he would need. But let's keep an eye on it. I want to go back on board with Vasta Racer and just see how he's coping with the tyres as he comes down. He's locking up again. You see him just coming off the brake pedal and just let the tyre win. Wet tyres for Danny, okay. So now we've got a right good mix of tyres. Sven carries on, so does Sparks and Blizzard. So Danny's now down to 4th position. We're on lap 24 and 29. We've not got long to go. People are going for the no-stopper. Vaster's down in 8th on inverts. Casper's in 6th on 4 lap old wets. You'd imagine Danny's going to be able to come through on fresh tyres pretty quickly, but it's not easy to pass round here, especially in the rain.
Absolutely, but this is going to be a race where the right tyre is literally going to decide where you finish in this race. Sven at the moment, I think he's gone for a lap extra because he would have been held up in the pits there because, of course, the two Williams are sharing the same pit stall. Of course they are, they're teammates. So that means then that I think Sven is going to put an extra lap onto those wet tyres. I was surprised that Danny, looking at the weather conditions, came out on fresh wets, but maybe that's why I'm in the commentary box rather than out on track. He's closing in on Blizzard at a rate of knots. And well, you'd think he should be because he's got 23 lap fresher wet tyres as he makes his way through 11 and 12, and you can see he is eating into that lead between himself and Blizzard. Vasta Racer 1.1 behind surface. You can see a little bit skittish on the exit of turn 10 there, but in general he is closing in on surface ahead of him. Buckle in, this is going to be an excellent 4 or 5 laps.
Now the interesting part is going to come here is, do Sven, Sparks and Blizzard pit, or do they just push on to the end of the race? Let's go on board with Danny, who's closed up to them very quickly indeed. Where is Sven? Sparks and Blizzard have carried on. And Sven's carried on as well, so they've got to go to the end of the race now because that's their only chance of getting on the podium, is pushed to the end of the race. I think Danny's on the right tyre because Vasta Racer's dropped 3 tenths on surface during that last sector. So I don't think it's quite time for intermediates. It's just on that teetering point between the two of them, and I think it's just a couple of laps too early, and I think Danny might have just got it right. He knows he had the advantage. He's then going to have the he's going to have the fresh tyres to push on for the last few laps and try and make the overtakes. The problem is, he's got to overtake 3 cars. One of them is the race leader at the moment, Williams Jim Sven, who is his teammate and championship rival.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Danny just took the chance there to pit in for fresh tyres. He may be... Oh, he's lost the back end. Oh, heart in mouth moment there for Danny as that back end wanted to let go of him through turn 8. He gathered it back up. Now he's right on the back of Blizzard there. He'll be much more careful on the throttle through there now. That is for sure. But we now make our way towards 11 and 12. And Danny here is going to have a job on his hands to try and get past Blizzard. He's got to try and get turn 12 right. Get the right angle through there. The right angle of attack. Now you can see he's closing in on the McLaren ahead of him. Is there an opportunity to try and move in towards turn 12? He tries for a move up the inside, but the door is quickly slammed shut by the McLaren here. And Sven, who was running in 4th place at one point in this race, all the others ahead of him decided to pit in. He has stayed out, and he could be on course to try and take a race win here at the Australian Grand Prix. But Danny is going to throw everything and the kitchen sink at trying to take back this win.
Absolutely. Lap 26 to 29, we're on board with the Spaniard again down towards turn number 1, but again, just can't get the move done. It's quite shallow in terms of braking. He's got a much better run out of turn number 1 through turn 2 though. The Blizzard in the McLaren's going to have to go very defensive down towards turn number 3. Here goes the Williams to the outside line. Can he get the braking done? Blizzard squeezes him as much as he's allowed to, pushes him sideways onto the curb, and now up the inside for Danny through turn 4. A little bit of bump in the wheels there. Can he get the traction done? Yes he can. Danny back onto the podium, but now he is 3.8, nearly 4 seconds behind his teammate. He's got 1.8 to get Sparks up ahead. Can he use this little bit of clean air to catch up to the Alfa Romeo and maybe get an easier pass on Sparks than he did on Blizzard? Because Blizzard made that one tricky. Look at that at the bottom of the screen. Nolan 135 in the middles. It's on the intermediate tyre, so it's slowly coming towards the intermediate tyre range now. Not enough though, because Vasta Racer still behind Surface on 7th, although as I say that, he's going to sneak down the inside here into turn number 9. He's got much better traction and braking, and that's him finally made a move up in the P7. He's now got 4 seconds though to catch up to Casper, so I think he was just a little bit too early on those intermediates. But the big story now, can Danny catch his teammate in the last 3 laps?
Oh, he's going to lose the back end there. He might not do it if he does things like that, but we're now just tiptoeing our way through the final corner here, and Sven will start lap 27. We'll have 3 laps to go here at the Australian Grand Prix, and Danny's going to throw everything at this one. He's got to deal with Sparks first, who's up ahead of him in the Alfa Romeo, heading now towards turn 1. But Sparks here will just be trying to hang on for as long as he possibly can. Casper is down in 6th place. He wants to try and get past Fabi here. And Fabi, you can see, going very defensive to try and break the slipstream between himself and the Mercedes going in towards turn 1. Vasta Racer, as you said, Andy, 4 seconds behind Casper on the intermediate tyres. It looks okay for intermediates by the rain, but of course, the track condition says a lot different. There's lots of hidden standing water, that's for sure. These intermediate tyres just aren't quite clicking for Vasta Racer right now, but if they are, they're just coming on a little bit too late. He's actually just taken 0.4 of a second through 1 mini sector alone on Casper. Maybe I was too quick to write off Vasta Racer in this one, but you can see how quickly Danny is closing in on Sparks now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're definitely in intermediate range now because Nolan's just done another fastest lap. He's now into the low 35s with that latest lap time, 1:35.1 from the Toro Rosso driver. Danny's picked up a penalty at the worst possible time. He's completely chucked it away. That's going to be game over in terms of the race victory unless he can pull off a stonker of the last couple of laps here. And after looking so peerless up front, he's came into the pits, dropped down, not been able to get by Blizzard as quick as he liked, and he's now picked up a 3-second time penalty, which at least in terms of on track is going to completely ruin any chance of the win.
Yeah, absolutely. Casper, meanwhile, going side by side with Fabi as they make their way now in towards turn 14. Casper round the outside. He gets that move done then, and the Ferrari on 26-lap-old wet weather tyres is just can't quite hold on to the inside line there. Doesn't quite have the grip. Sven still leads though. Danny is still trying to find a way past Sparks. Meanwhile then, Vasta Racer is still closing in bit by bit ahead of Fabi. Remember, last time around, there you can see, fastest lap of the race, 1:34.948. Remember, this time last lap, he was about 4 seconds behind Fabi. Now look at him, he's on an absolute charge. Danny, right on the gearbox of Sparks as well.
Absolutely, I'm going to jump back and forward, so apologies for any quick camera cuts. I'm trying to keep up with everything as much as possible. It's definitely the right time for intermediates now, but you're not going to pit with 2 laps to go, that's for sure. Danny right on the back of the Alfa Romeo. Sparks will know that he's got a penalty as Danny dives down the inside. Can he get it slowed down? Yes, he can. That was actually very nicely done in tricky conditions. So he's now up into what is P2 on the road. He's got 2 seconds to catch his teammate and a lap and a half to do it, and he's got a 3-second penalty. Meanwhile, Vasta Racer, Fabi's gone off the road. He's gone a bit of rally crossing, so that's an easy move for Vasta Racer. Nolan with another time penalty. He might as well be in the next round, wherever we're going next. I can't remember, but he's had that many penalties, it's not going to do him any good. Lee Finley, meanwhile, going up the inside of Speedstyle, and he's fresh intermediates, 34 free from Jocolat and his fresh intermediate tyres. There's so much going on in the last few laps. The table is going to change a lot when they cross the line next time by, because there's been a lot of penalties for some drivers. That's going to make a big difference. Oh, Danny getting a huge tire slapper, nearly ended up with a pit wall there as we go on to the last lap of the race. But it's Williams, Jim, Sven. Your championship leader is Nolan's out of the race, down the field, pushing it far too hard, obviously. Not sure where he is. He's miles behind is Jacques. Oh, hit the wrong buttons here, apologies. So yeah, he's completely binned it, so that's him out of the race, so the penalties won't matter. But Williams, Jim, Sven, he's getting caught hand on fist by Danny, but it's surely not going to be too little too late as Vasta Racer sneaks around the outside, just catching the end of that on Casper, down into turn 3. You get a yellow flag in sector 3. It is Speedster going slowly and pulling off to the side of the road. He's pulled back on the road and retired from the session in the middle of the track. It's a little bit cheeky if you ask me. Back to the front, final lap. Danny's got a penalty. I don't think Sven does. I'm sure you'll be able to tell me, Kieran.
I don't think Sven does. No, he's got one warning, I believe. So this could be Sven's chance. I mean, 10 laps ago, he was in 4th place. And now he has a chance of winning this race. Danny is just going to try and throw everything at it. It's going to be very, very rare and very obscure if he's able to gain 3 seconds in one sector, plus get the move done. It looks like it's going to be Sven here who's going to get the job done with the no-stop strategy and try and take another win in this season.
It's absolutely coming up towards the line. He took his first AOR F1 victory last season in changeable conditions at Silverstone. He's locked into this one a little bit today, to be perfectly honest, but the championship leader's going to extend his lead. Williams, Jim, Sven takes the flag and the win. He is the winner of the AOR Hype Energy Australian Grand Prix. Sparks takes second, Danny in third. Vasta Racer will take 4th due to Blizzard's penalties, he's in 5th. Casper crossing the line in 6th. Fabi with another lot of points here, he'll be happy with that one. He's going to cross the line for 7th position. Vasta Surface in 8th. Lee Finlay across the line in 9th. Then it's Onyx who's going to round out the points in 10th position. There he goes across the line, he takes 10th on intermediate. You can see Prinez crashing the car in the background. Onyx is 11th, Prinez 12th, Lewis in 13th, and Jocolat will round out the field in 14th. What a race that was!
Absolutely, and in that last part, going through turn 13, Lewis Welsh made contact with Tactician and spun him around on the exit. He waited for Tactician to go through, but lost positions to Surface and Lee Finlay, and then another one to Prinens on track as well. So he's finished outside the points when he was in the points to start with. It was just a little bit of a botched move there in towards turn 13. It was never going to be on, and that is his race pretty much down in the dirt outside of the points. But your race winner, who was 4th about 10 laps ago, Williams Jim Sven, takes his 3rd race win of the season.
What an absolute race. For most of that race, we thought Danny had that one in the bag. He came into pits with about 6 laps to go, and then he picks up a penalty. Look at the rear tyres there. I just caught a glimpse of the rear tyres on Sven's Williams. Those tyres are shot. They're basically nearly through the canvas. Unbelievable, but he's the winner. 3rd time a victor this season. Sparks with a podium as well, rounding out another great race for him. 7 in a row on the points for him, and his first podium of the season. And Danny, that was his race to lose, but it's time for your official, unofficial results in just a moment with Mr. Kieran McGinley. Kieran, take us through.
Absolutely. So your official, unofficial results for the Australian Grand Prix here in the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 PS4 League. It is Williams Jim Sven who takes his 3rd race win of the season here at the Australian Grand Prix. Sparks finishes in 2nd place. That's his first podium this season, I believe. Danny in 3rd place with Vasta Racer in 4th. Blizzard in 5th with Casper down in 6th place. Fabi 7th. Surface in 8th. Lee Finlay in 9th. And Tactician rounds out the top 10. Onyx 11th. Prinens in 12th. Welsh in 13th. Chocolat in 14th with Speedster, Nolan, Jonathan, Deso, Lamakina and Gamer all not making it to the checkered flag. And I believe the fastest lap of the race went to someone outside of the top 10. Yes, it was, I think it was Jocolat I'm seeing there, 133.3. That was Leaf. No.
It's only 34. Vasta Racer's 34.8. So no, it's Vasta Racer. 34.8.
It is Vasta Racer. Is it? No, it's 33.3 from Jocolat. 14th
Oh, not
place,
yet.
outside
Sorry,
the top
never
10.
noticed that. See, that's
Oh,
what happens when I'm not looking.
oh. So no point for the fastest lap of the race then here at the Australian Grand Prix, but a third race win of the season for Sven. And I wonder if we're going to get people in the commentary box for the interview, because of course we have overrun by quite some time. It'd be interesting to see if we can get anybody here.
Yeah, we'll give it a couple of minutes and see if anyone does, but if not, then we'll leave it be since we have overrun over our normal slot, let's be perfectly honest. This is the one for most people who probably are watching this probably won't understand. The worst thing used to be when I was growing up was you would set the video recorder, yes, a video recorder, to record something, it would overrun and it would run out of tape. That was the worst thing in the world. Doesn't happen with Sky Plus obviously and stuff like that, but that was the bane of my life whenever they had a long race in F1 back in the day. There you go, shows you how old I am.
Absolutely, yeah. The Canadian Grand Prix was infamous for that, where it just sort of ends about on the red flag period, where they were just waiting for the storm to subside. But yeah, I mean that was an amazing race. I did think it would probably be intermediates towards the end, but I didn't realise the field were going to be split by three different strategies. One, lots of drivers were going for the no stop. Another went for a late run on the wet weather tyres, and then some other drivers went onto the intermediate tyres. I don't think I've seen that many strategies going on for a long, long time.
No, definitely not. Plenty going on there, and that kept us well entertained throughout the entirety of the race. And considering that, as we say, it looked like it was going to be Danny's race to lose, and as someone's pointed out in the chat, they feel that pitting for wets was a silly thing. Now, I'm sure he's obviously got his reasoning behind it, obviously. Absolutely does, but it makes you wonder what the decision making was. It would be cool if we can actually get Danny in. I know Sparks is actually in, so we might as well jump across. We are getting interviews, which is great, so we'll just jump over to the interview section. And there we are. And since we are running late, we'll just get cracking straight on with it, Kieran, if you don't mind. And we'll jump straight in with our second place finisher, who is already here. So, Kieran, on you go.
Thank you very much. Well, Andy's pretty much done the introduction for me. Sparks, second place in what turned out to be quite an eventful race in the end. How do you think that went?
Um, I don't really know. To be fair, I was so focused in not crashing and not spinning the whole race. I wasn't really thinking about the position, but when it came to the end, it was like lap 29, and I realised I could be on for P2. Yeah, I was ecstatic. I'm just really happy I've got that position.
And it just sort of clicked. Oh, I could be on for my first podium this season. That pressure must have ramped up a little bit there.
Yeah, near the end, I was making a few mistakes. I went a bit deep at one point, and Blizzard got right up behind me. And yeah, I could definitely feel the pressure, but I'm happy it's over, to say the least.
That's for sure. I mean, just talk us through that. That's your first podium this season. You must be feeling great after that.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of work you put into these races, and for it finally to pay off, and I can tell you, I didn't expect it to pay off here, considering my pace didn't look that good. But I said I wanted a wet race. I said I wanted a miracle, and obviously it came. So I can't be any happier right now.
Absolutely. And I mean, what's going through your mind when obviously you went for the no stop option? How were your tyres looking towards the end there? Because we saw the race winners' tyres, the rear tyres especially, looked absolutely shot. How were your tyres looking?
Yeah, they weren't good. They were like 80% in then, and they were overheating because the track wasn't wet enough. So at the end, I just thought I'm just going to drive slowly. I'm going to get third at least. So I was like 2 seconds off the quickest guys, and but yeah, they were absolutely shot. I'm surprised I didn't get a puncture, but you've got to take risks, and the risks paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. And at one point in that race, did you think, right, I'm committing to the no stop now?
I was thinking around about lap 20. I was thinking, should I pit or not? But then it came to like lap 25, and they were like 69%. So I kind of just thought, I'm going to bite the bullet and go for it. And yeah, it paid off.
Yeah, so we've got the German Grand Prix next time around. How do you feel about that one?
Well, it's probably one of my worst tracks in the game, but you never know. Anything can happen in this, as seen just there. But yeah, we'll see. It's very early days, but I'll practice and see if I can get back up to pace.
And just a last thing to cover, really. I mean, your point scoring streak continues. You're the only driver to have finished a race that you've started inside the points. That's a fantastic run you've got there.
Yeah, I definitely didn't think that would be happening coming into this tier, considering how prestige it is and how quick the drivers are. But I'm very happy. It's going very well so far.
Well, congratulations on your second place, Sparks. That moves you nicely up the table, I believe. But congratulations on the podium. Enjoy the champagne, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, man.
Sparks there, P2 in that race. First podium this season for him. Fantastic to see. Next, we have the race winner of the Australian Grand Prix. Hopefully, he's with us. He's pretty much extended his lead at the top of the table, running fourth place at one point. Sven, congratulations on the win. Third race win of the season. How'd you feel after that one?
Thank you. Yeah, very happy, and I don't know, it was very close with the tires, and yeah, definitely a hard race, especially with Dani behind me in the last 2 laps, and he was so much quicker.
Yeah, I mean, you're running fourth place at one point. You're sort of in a bit of no man's land. I mean, it must be more difficult to keep your concentration there as well.
At the first few laps, I tried to push and maybe to overtake some people, but then I realized there's no point in overtaking, and I just slowed down a little bit for 1.5 or 2 seconds of a gap to have a better view with the track, because it's really hard to follow another car and to see the track. And then I was also very cautious with the tires, so I was trying not to get any sort of oversteer or any traction loose on the throttle or anything like that. And I really hoped I can get these tires until the end.
And at one point, did you realize, right, I'm sticking to the no stop strategy? What lap did you commit to that?
I think it was like lap 20 when Casper got into the pit, and I was like, unless we have to switch to the intermediates or unless there's a safety car, I'm definitely not gonna go to the pits. And yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to ask you because Andy saw your rear tires as we were in Parc Ferme. There, they look absolutely shot. Just what sort of condition were they in?
And they were really bad. I mean, the last lap was 1 or 1.5 seconds slower than my normal lap times. And also every corner I was turning in and the rear just wouldn't stick. It was so slippery at the end. And I think I had like over 80% tire wear, so around 83% or something like that. So there was a possibility I would get a puncture, but I was taking that risk, and it paid off.
Absolutely, and you might as well have just had slicks on. They were worn down that much. But yeah, I mean, third race winner of the season. Unofficially, you've extended your lead at the top of the championship. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's very good, especially in this race where Dani was just a little bit quicker in the wet. But yeah, just a bit of luck today, so I'm very happy and I take these points.
And next race of the season, we head to the German Grand Prix. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah, I think it's a good track. The first corner is a little bit harsh with warnings, but I think it will be a good race. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, congratulations on your win tonight, Sven. Third race win of the season. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
And I don't think at the moment there's any sign of Dani, so that's me wrapped up here in the interview section. It's back to you, Andy.
Thanks very much for that. Absolutely exemplary as always from you, my friend. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, so I'll just run you through the championship standings. This is obviously officially unofficial. There might be obviously stewards' inquiries, etc. based on that, but we'll bring you up to speed with anything like that next week. But based on tonight, Sven is still in the lead of the championship. He breaks over the 100-point barrier at 111 points. Dani is still in second on 98 points. So it's a 13-point gap now at the top of the standings. Vasta Racers jumped ahead of Casper into third by 1 point, 82 points to Casper's 81. Blizzard still in fifth on 63. Sparks moves up now to sixth ahead of Paris, 54 points to Paris's on 50. Lewis is still in 8th and 28th. Prin is still in 9th and 27th. And Lee Finley now has 10th place all to himself with his 2 points here tonight. He is on 24 points. In the Constructors' Championship, it's a 100-point lead for Williams at the top of the standings, 209 points. Racing Point next up on 109. Mercedes still in third on 89. McLaren only 2 behind them now on 87. Alfa Romeo jump ahead of Toro Rosso thanks to Sparks' second place. They're on 56, Toro Rosso on 54. And then Red Bull still in 7th and 37. Haas in 8th and 23. Renault in 9th and 20. Those three teams did not score any points here tonight. tonight, and Ferrari still at the bottom of the championship, but they're now on 10 points with Fabi getting P7 tonight, adding 6 points to the 4 that he got at the Circuit of the Americas a few weeks back. But that is it for this evening. Once again, thank you very much to everyone for sticking around for this elongated stream, just nearly ticking off 2 hours now since we started the stream earlier on, just before 7. So thank you very much for joining us the whole way through. Hope you enjoyed all the action here tonight. Next time up, as mentioned, we will be at the Hockenheim Ring for the German Grand Prix. That was a very exciting race last year. I'm expecting more of the same next week. But until that time, my name is Andy Campbell.
And I've been Kieran McGinley.
Take care of yourself, and we will see you next time. Ta-da.